Well, it's good to be here with everybody. Obviously, a lot of exciting times of college football, but probably the most exciting time is we're kind of getting into that pivot, getting closer towards the football season, which is what we all love to do. And, we'll see what comes out of these meetings. I don't know if we'll find an end-all, be-all to all the answers, but that's what these meetings are for, is to dig deep and to see what we can get accomplished.
What would you like to see the playoffs?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I've voiced my opinions on when we were at 4. I didn't want to leave 4. So now we're at 12. It's kind of like, okay, we're at 12 and we're in such a rush to grow and go further. I just think we got to think of the unintended consequences when we make decisions to move in whatever direction we decide to go in. I think change is inevitable. It's just a matter of, what is that change? And I think that's something that, I just hope we're conscientious in the decision making when we do decide to change.
Is change inevitable?
Right now, sure. I mean, we're changing every day in college athletics. I think back to, I got the job at the University of Texas in January of 21, and the amount of a change that has occurred in the 5.5 years that I've had the job has really been incredible. And I've been in this profession for 25 years. And to think just in these last 5 years, we have conference realignment, we have the transfer portal, which has changed every year. We have an expanded college football playoff. We have revenue sharing. We have just stuff that continues to change. I think we need to, as college football, our ability to change with the times, I think, is important. So I do think it is inevitable right now.
How do you feel about the value of the SEC championship game?
I love the SEC championship game. I think it's a special game. It's a special moment for the two teams that have an opportunity to play in that game. Clearly, the fans love it. The viewership is incredible for that ball game. I can tell you I've been part of that game twice where we won. I was part of that game once when we lost, and twice as an assistant, once as a head coach, and very, very special. I will tell you, when we won the SEC championship in 2020, and that was the COVID season, some would argue that celebration was as big or better than when we won the national championship later in the year because of just how hard it is to win this conference. In that year in COVID, it was an SEC-only schedule, and so that made it even more gratifying. I think this year is going to be very similar to that with us going to 9 conference games now. And the teams that can come out of the gauntlet of playing 9 conference games and have an opportunity to play for an SEC championship in that game, I think it'll be special. And so I'm hopeful that we can maintain that game. I don't know if that's a reality, depending on the change that potentially is coming. But in the short term, while we have it, man, I surely hope those teams that do make it cherish it.
Don't you think that game in particular, you knocked out Georgia's starting quarterback a couple years ago. Isn't that a detriment to teams' ability to win a national championship because of the schedule?
I think that's part of the problem right now in college athletics. Everybody's chasing one end goal, and we're losing sight of the small victories along the way. And we live in an era right now of college football. It's playoff or bust, and I feel for people because there's only 12 teams that get in, and we have you guys tell me, I think it's close to, if not 70 Power 4 schools, not to mention the P5 schools. And so the disappointment for the majority of these fan bases, because they all live with a playoff or bust mentality. And that's the mentality right there with the question you just asked, that we're minimizing the value of an SEC championship, all with the hopes of just winning a national championship. And one team gets one of those. And so I just think that was one of the beauties of college sport and of college football for a long, long time, when it was 2 teams. When there was no BCS, there was nothing. They just figured out who the champion was. And then we went to 2 teams, and then we went to 4 teams. And even at 4 teams, it was like, okay, we know who those 4 are. The rest of these teams can have really good seasons and celebrate their seasons, be champions, win a New Year's Six bowl and still feel great about their season. And now we've gotten to 12, and now the tables have kind of turned. And my concern is, I watched a coach get fired 5 games into a season last year after being in the semifinals the year before. That's concerning to me about the health of our sport. And so to me, I just think we got to find a way to get out of this notion of it's a national championship or bust for all the schools, because it's not a healthy way to live for our fan bases. It's not a healthy way to live for our donors. There's a lot of money in place. There's a lot of people contributing. The TV revenue that it's coming in. There's a lot going in this. There's NIL. There's players making money. Gosh, just to hang one carrot out there that we're all chasing every single year with a format that's really not conducive for everybody to have an opportunity to win it. It's a scary proposition to me. And so hopefully, like I said, we can navigate our way through this and we can find a little better remedy for it.
Coach, given the SEC bylaws under sportsmanship, was wondering if you were sanctioned at all for the comments you had about Ole Miss.
No, I was not. And again, I think some of those comments were, I hate to say, taken out of context. I was talking about the inequities in college athletics. And one of those inequities was as it pertains to transfers and teams and how we all can recruit certain different transfers. We have a rule at the University of Texas. We can only take 50% of towards your degree, no matter how many hours you've completed. Other schools can take all of your hours that you take. To me, that's an inequity in our sport. Those are some of the things that we have to work through. I could have used macroeconomics. I could have used engineering. It wouldn't have mattered. The class was irrelevant. And that was poor choice of words on my part. But no, I was not punished for that.
Steve, some national organizations such as the NAACP, they've come out recently and advised high school athletes not to attend certain schools based on legislation. I'm just curious, do those conversations come up when you're in households recruiting? And if so, how do you comfort parents and make student athletes?
Well, we haven't addressed it yet. As we know, recruiting season is about to really ramp up here in June, right? With official visits, our players will be back on campus June 1st. And for those of you that cover us on a regular, like yourself, you know, I don't shy away from topics as they come up in our society. And so I'll address this with our team. I'll address it with our recruits, and I want them to know exactly where we stand. But I think for me, those topics are in-house. And I think we can handle it accordingly. I will say University of Texas has always been on the forefront of trying to do what's right, and this will be no different.
Coach, how important was it landing a guy like Cam Coleman for your offense this fall?
Yeah, no, Cam's been a great addition. You know, I think when you turn on the tape of his time at Auburn, I think it's very easy to see the skill set, the size, the speed, the playmaking ability, the 50-50 balls. What you don't see under the hood, you know, when you take the helmet off, is a human being. This guy's an awesome human. His work ethic is incredible, and it's a great way to add to a team that already had some talented people on it. To say your best players are your hardest workers, Cam Coleman fits right into that, and he's a great teammate. Like I said, from a player perspective, we're very fortunate to have him. From the teammate perspective, we might even be more fortunate to have him.
You talk about recruiting. You bring up what we have our rankings. I know you have your rankings, but is it easier to build a roster that has pretty good recruiting rankings, pretty good portal rankings, pretty good retention, or is it more advantageous, do you think, to maybe go get those great recruiting rankings and just try to retain and not have to portal as much?
I think to each their own, you know. I think everybody's in a different state of a program. You can go all around our conference, you can go all around the country. We're not all the same. And everybody's at different stages in their program. You know, for us, you know, we've strung together some pretty good recruiting classes in a row, and we have kind of backfilled those spots through the portal. This year we were clearly more aggressive in the portal, but we had more attrition off of our roster too. We had 24 guys leave our team too, which was the highest number that we've had, and that's the times of college football. I think there's a lot of ways to skin a cat, a lot of ways to try to be successful, and I think as a school, you have to look at what do we need in the short term immediately, and what are we going to need into the future as we continue to build. I would love to have the right type of balance. I would love to recruit really well out of high school. I'd love to retain guys on our team, and then I'd love to find ability to have immediate impact players through the portal. Some years that number may be less in the portal, some may be more. A lot of that is dictated off of our current roster and what that looks like.
When it comes to governance of the SEC and college football in general,
Yeah.
are there 2 or 3 things that you think of immediately say, hey, we need to fix this?
Yeah.
I know 2 or 3 is limited.
I'll go with one.
Okay.
What are the rules and enforce them? It's not that hard. But you have to be able to enforce the rules. If you sign up to be part of this, here are the rules. If you break the rules, here are the consequences, and enforce them. Right now, we don't live in that society in college football. We just don't.
One thing Greg said yesterday was sort of the balance between the significance of the punishments and enforcement and the timeliness of it. Would you be willing to trade maybe some lesser punishments, but those things happen as close to immediately as possible? And if they're not, if you're being punished 3 years down the line, is it really a punishment?
I would say the sooner the punishment, the better, with the facts in place. I think we would put ourselves in trouble rushing to judgment, just like anything. But we all need to know there's consequences. That's life, right? It's like we make choices and decisions predicated on what are the consequences in the back end, good or bad, right? Good or bad. And I just think that right now we're living in a society of no fear. When it comes to college athletics. And when I break a rule, if I don't like the fact that I got caught breaking that rule or not doing what I was supposed to do, to go get a judge to say, hey, get an injunction, we'll deal with that a year from now, I don't think that's what we want. And we've got to find a way to get past this era of college athletics. I don't know how to get that done. I'm a sociology major for anybody at Ole Miss that's wondering. Okay, I'm not the smartest guy in the room. Okay, but my point is there are smart enough people that can figure this out, and we're trying to get federal intervention. I don't know if that's going to work. Okay, so if that doesn't work, what's Plan B? What's Plan C? What's Plan D to try to get us to a point where we can get back on the same page, where we're not always saying, yeah, that's the rule, but here's a way I can get around the rule. And even if I get caught, here's what I'm going to do when I get caught. Like we've got to get out of that way of thinking and just get to a point of, here's the rules. Let's go try to navigate within the rules and be the best we can be. And if I step out of bounds, here's your penalty. Okay, let's get back in bounds and let's keep playing.
Is it fixable though?
Guys, we got to wrap.
The NFL's got 32 teams, and those owners are all pretty united. But there's so many leagues, and there's so many hands in the pie. Would it take an outside entity, something like Elko mentioned, a Fortune 500 guy to come in and be a czar type?
That might be the case, Cedric. Like I said, I don't know. I don't have the time nor the bandwidth to put forth all my energy into that. I'm trying to get a football team ready to play and trying to recruit and all that. I just know we need something, and we've got to try to find a healthier way to exist in college athletics than we are today. All right, y'all. Thank you.
Thank you.